tripes, and kidneys of cows. The Immigrant Child.
These are my priority neighborhoods in my community. And I want to see 50 young. Or maybe I'll step out and put myself out to the people and run for office.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Nadine Williams.
So I'm just going to share a couple pieces from my latest book, Pen on Fire. And what I'll do is I'll start with a bit of a biographical piece. And it's called The Immigrant Child. I am the immigrant child, born and bred on the fingers of bananas, backs of chickens, heads of goats, tails of pigs, livers, tripes, and kidneys of cows. The immigrant child whose forefathers threw what they called partners to ensure that on September mornings there would be no bawling, since I, like the rest, could stand with the best and big up my chest and proudly tell the teachers good morning. Yes, I am the immigrant child, whose very large family shared 2 bedrooms and 1 veranda, who fumbled with bottle torches at nights to find the toilets. And though I may reside in 4 and 5 bedroom houses with en-suites attached, you know, there was a time when I had roofs that were thatched and patched to keep the waters at bay. Hey, hear me when I say, I am the immigrant child who has embarked upon a land of promise, a land foretold many years ago, a land where milk and honey flows. The immigrant child whose migration and subsequent integration has made me a proud Canadian, entitled to all that the shores of Nova Scotia, Manitoba, British Columbia, Newfoundland and Labrador has in store. As much sap as my tongue can lap from the bark of the maple trees, while mastering as many degrees as my tuition fees deems feasible. I am the immigrant child, destined to fulfill the goodwill of those that sent me, those who themselves knew not this land of promise. I am the immigrant child, whose rich heritage oozes from my pores, as I try to ensure that the doors of these great memories are open wide, to impart a sense of humility and pride, while being a guide to this generation and the generation after that. I am the immigrant child, born and bred on the fingers of bananas, backs of chickens, heads of goats, tails of pigs, livers, tripes, and kidneys of cows. And I am the immigrant child who will die humbly holding dear the heart of the breadfruit, the immigrant child. Thank you.
If you were to write in the next circle outside of the small one in the center, your stretch zone. And that's the place where you're challenging your thoughts and your ideas. That's when you begin to write and you begin to introduce new ideas into the world. That's the place where you say, maybe I will go into management and I will apply for that job. Or maybe I will step into the C-suite. Or maybe I'll step out and put myself out to the people and run for office. That is your stretch zone. What happens when you are panicked? Does anyone know? When you are panicked and you're feeling like this is absolutely overwhelming, you make rash decisions, but sometimes you just want to curl up into a ball. You want to go home, and you don't want to go anywhere, right? So when you push yourself beyond what is reasonable, you move from stretching to panic, and then you collapse back into comfort, right? So I share this with you, particularly those that are kind of shaping the plan for their future and their vision. Don't be too complacent. Don't do what is just easy. stretch yourself. Reach forward, reach beyond. But be careful not to overdo it. Okay, so I just really want to leave that with you, because we are talking about success, we're talking about striving for, but sometimes you can go too far.
It is humbling, as Mitzi has said, as the Honorable Mitzi has said. You know, for me, my background's a little different. So, you know, I've always grown up thinking that, you know, there's a phrase that says in the Bible that you should be doers and not hearers. And I say that because I come from a community where, for most part, we didn't really hear much. So, and I'm saying that because we could all stand here and say how great we are. And the reality is that it doesn't matter. I think many times we may get caught up at times with what it is that we've accomplished, where we have come from, how great we are, but you're just hearing that. So I'm going to tell you how it is that I learn. So I don't learn much from hearing, because hearing didn't really do a lot for me. It doesn't put food on the table. It doesn't allow you to get into this particular school or that particular school. So when I hear it, it doesn't really do enough for me. So then how did I learn? So I can tell you that when I met Farley for the first time, he had a big brown bowler hat on, a jacket that had 19 buttons. And he was walking into 18 buttons, my apologies. And he was walking into, I think it was the Opera House. Now, the reason why is because back then I was into entertainment. So there weren't a lot of black managers then. But there's Farley with Maestro walking in to the Urban Music Awards. I think it's like the first one. We happened to be there, Farley's there. But I saw him doing something. And I realized that I could do something if I see that guy doing something. So let me go further. The first time that I actually come in contact with my namesake, Donald Meredith, is not in person. But there is a shooting that happens, or a death that happens inside of a church, and then there's a shooting that happens, I think nearby the funeral, or around even the day of the funeral. Then an organization starts. The organization starts with a few individuals, and then they decide to do something. So they start an organization, they go for a march, they get on television, they do these things, but it's that they did something. And I realize that sometimes what happens is, you know, when you're young and you're sitting there, what we're telling you is how, we're not saying how great we are, but in a way we're saying how great we are. And I think that the reality is that the greatness is in you. So how do we get to that greatness to ensure that you become greater than where we are? Because we're just one generation. You know, I went to a function a few days ago inside of this house that was ginormous. The people that were there had money galore. They were able to do whatever they wanted to do, and they could go wherever they wanted to go. But what I realized was that this was generational. So what happens is their parents actually had enough money that they could live where they live, and now their kids will be able to enjoy the fruits of that labor. So when I'm saying it's generational, we will go as far as we can go, but my son, who is 10, must go further.
At a certain point in my life, my family was on welfare and was living from my $3.65 wage. I started my company at 15 years old, so it's now 36 years old. And every single moment of it has been about me knowing myself. And the first word in the acronym tonight is understand. You have to understand yourself. When you understand yourself, you can make better decisions, quicker decisions, and for the most part, if not all, they'll be beneficial to you and to those you care about. That's number one. Once you understand yourself, you can then go out and navigate. And ironically, I have a program, a youth program called Take Back Your World, Navigate Your Life. And the first 3 letters of navigate are capitalized because they represent needs, actions, and visions. Right? And I roll out this program in a number of our challenge communities. But specific to this, once you understand yourself, you can then go out in the world and navigate. Right? Navigate to find out what is there for you. If you don't know what your interests are, your personality traits and your skill sets, and you utilize those to navigate through life to find your destination. And your destination is a specific place that you've designed for yourself. So I preface all that actually to say that greatness, by my definition, and I've seen it in the dictionary, but my definition of greatness is getting performance out of potential. So it has nothing to do with what the next guy did. What is your potential? If you're not curious about your own potential, you'll wander through life and you will be sort of a migrant worker in life in terms of your own success. It's a real thing. And if it's 10 feet high and you perform at the 10-foot high level, then you've achieved greatness. So Nelson Mandela always say, how many people think Nelson Mandela is a great man? Right? We all say Nelson Mandela is a great man, but we don't know if his goal was to be an astronaut. We don't know that. We're assuming by what he's achieved from our lens, our perspective, that he's a great man. He may be disgruntled in his bed at night saying, oh man, I wanted to go to the moon. We don't know. So when you know yourself, then you can talk about greatness and live your legacy now, not what is on your tombstone or read at your eulogy. You live your legacy now. So remember, understand yourself. Navigate so you know where you want to go. Identify the thing that's most appealing to you. Transform to make sure that thing that's appealing to you becomes you and you become it. And that, by nature of all those things, you will be engaged in your own life and therefore engaging to others. Make sense? Cool.
I hope you learned as much as I did. I will see you again on a brand new episode of On the Wheel Professional Gathering Edition, where you are informed, connected, and ignited.